It's Friday and you're watching FreightWaves Now. I'm your host, Anthony Smith, and coming up, we're going to have Kevin Hill giving us a DHL Supply Chain Pricing Power Index update. But first, we're going to go to Zach Strickland with the carrier update brought to you by PowerFleet. Stay tuned.
Everyone, welcome to your Friday carrier update presented by PowerFleet. Congratulations on making it to the end of yet another week. I'm Zach Strickland, and we're starting to see continued acceleration in the outbound tender volumes and tender rejection rates. So we're still not over this hump of how far can this freight market grow, how fast can volumes go up, how far can capacity tighten. We're still looking at tender rejection rates up above, traditional peak levels for the last couple of years. We now have the highest tender rejection rate of the year at 19.39% on the O-Tri, just eclipsing that 19.25% we saw back in March. Outbound tender volume index continues to break records every single day. When will it stop? We don't know just yet. 13.4K. Again, another all-time high for the outbound tender volume index. So we're still seeing this very strong freight market. Carriers out there can rely on consistent freight volumes, spot market activity to continue to be active. Bouncing down route guides, the shippers are going to have to rely on multiple carriers more than likely to make sure that their capacity needs are met. All right, so looking at just how impressive this freight market has been and how volatile this freight market has been over the last couple of months. We've got our long haul freight rate for the spot market, DAT's long haul van freight rate, which measures basically long haul freight for the settlement of for the purpose of settlement of freight futures. Back in late April, we bottomed out around $1.18 a mile for the average spot rate. Now we're all the way up to $1.88 in a matter of just a few short months. This is one of the strongest increases of all time in the freight market. Again, coming off of a very historic low into a very historic high. This is volatility to a T in the freight market. I just wanted to show everybody that, just to let you know how volatile things have been. And again, even on the spot market side, we're looking at continued expansion through July as we enter August. The third quarter, traditionally, again, traditions have been broken this year, so don't rely too heavily on those. August, September, traditionally one of the more volatile sectors of the year in terms of resurgence of freight volumes and going back to school and things like that. Again, not as much going back to school activity this year across the country, but we're still in very uncertain times, and there's obviously going to be some form of activity in the third quarter here, whether that means that they go back to school now or later. We still have a lot to figure out, so continued volatility is definitely going to be the thing moving forward. Looking at our weighted rejection index, just to give you guys a quick pinpoint on where things are the most volatile in terms of increasing rejection rates and large volumes. This is a combination of OTMS and the outbound tender rejection rate weekly change. Harrisburg, Ontario, Allentown still leading the way. We talked about this yesterday. The coasts continue to be the tighter spots of the country, but we do have some Midwestern tightness over there. Cape Girardeau, not a huge market, so it is impressive that it shows up on the weighted rejection index map. These are not big markets over there in the middle of the country, and they're showing up, so that means that you can definitely expect tighter pockets of activity right over there around Cincinnati, Cape Girardeau, like I said, southern Missouri, and also northwestern Missouri, as we see freight rejection rates increase significantly in those pockets. But I want you guys to pay attention to that little blue section down there around Jacksonville. We do have a hurricane sitting out there. Hurricane Isaias sitting out there in the Caribbean right now, and it is expected to impact this area of the country over the weekend. Whether or not that means a strong increase in rejection rates because of that, I'm not sure. But one thing to note is that rejection rates are going up for whatever reason in the Jacksonville market. Volumes are going up as well, not necessarily anomalously going up for volumes. If you look at our volatility map up there, we only have a strong increase in outbound reject volatility, bumping up over 25% out of Jacksonville right now. Lakeland just to the south, not so much, 7.9% tender rejection rate. So that northern Florida having a little bit of trouble finding some capacity. And that'll do it for this carrier update.
The comprehensive logistics offerings from PowerFleet cover in-cab ELD, fleet management, trailer tracking, cargo monitoring, and tracking other assets such as chassis and intermodal containers. Power up your operations with PowerFleet.
Hello and welcome to the DHL Supply Chain Pricing Power Index update. I'm here with the one and only Kevin Hill. Kevin, what's the latest?
The latest is a 5-point move upwards with the DHL Supply Chain Pricing Power Index. In early May, we were at historic lows. The freight markets were tough. I think we're at 20. I think we dropped down to 15 the week after that, somewhat. So we're 15, 20 range, which is over here. And as everyone knows, 0 is all the power to the shipper, 100 is all the power to a carrier. So we're hovering. We were wondering, are we going to touch 0, or how low can we actually take this? This was just in early May. So we have June, July, August, so not even 3 months later, we have shifted the pendulum all the way over to 80. So the carriers have the power now. They are in the driver's seat, as you can see, and and that's all about freight volumes, rejection rates. Rejection rates right now are the OTRI is just almost at 20%, which is like 2018 highs, and everyone remembers that market in 2018. Volumes, of course, are record levels. They're about 31% year over year, and I think 34% compared to 2018. Right? I know that's not year over 2 years, but compared to 2018, it is 34% above. So the freight markets are humming along. There's probably going to be some more fiscal stimulus, right?
Potentially.
And potentially, there's an argument about that. The only worrisome sign I see, and the only bear case I can make right now for when this cycle might end, is unemployment. We had a bump up of unemployment for the first time since I think May as well. So there's still some worrying signs in the economy. GDP was published negative 33%.
Right.
Negative 33%, but it looks like we're on the upswing from that. But whatever disasters that might be out there out on the windshield, who knows? Right.
So Kevin, this is quite a substantial move. I mean, every week we look at this on Fridays and we see an incremental movement. I'm thinking, okay, it's going to get back to that equilibrium, but it just keeps creeping back closer and closer to that carrier movement. Do you think this is something that's going to be really dependent on the trajectory of the COVID-19 situation, or is this something more transportation related?
I think 2020 is all about COVID-19. Everything's driven by COVID-19, the economy, freight, life in general. Schools are driven all about what COVID-19 does, what the infection rates are. You have Texas, California, Florida. Is that going to catch up with the freight markets and the economy in general and drag it back down a little bit? What's going to happen? When are we going to return to normal, and what's that normal going to be? And I think it's a health question that's driven by COVID-19. But that's my personal opinion.
Well, your personal opinion means a lot to us. Kevin, where can people find a little bit more research that maybe you or your team's putting out?
So you can find it in Passport Research, so we put it out on that. We also put out a lot of sponsored content, reports and white papers that we tackle all different types of industries, but FreightWaves.com is always the best place to put it, and you can always find the PPI, or the DHL Supply Chain PPI, on the front page.
Excellent, Kevin. Always a pleasure. Thank you so much for that update. And thank you so much for tuning in. That's going to do for this Friday edition of the DHL Supply Chain Pricing Power Index update. Be sure to tune in next week for all the latest. Thank you so much for tuning in. That's going to wrap it up for this Friday edition of FreightWaves Now. The fun doesn't stop here. We're always streaming around the clock, thanks to our hardest working media team in the business. So check out our FreightWaves TV app on all your favorite streaming platforms, including Apple TV. Thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next episode.